Good afternoon, everybody. Can I get a mic check and a slide check for me? Thank you. And by the way, in case you do have other coworkers, I am getting messages like I got yesterday that some people are having a hard problem getting in. There was a national GoToWebinar issue yesterday, and it looks like some people are already getting texts saying that the link is invalid. So just let them know. We'll get started in about a minute. Okay, everybody, I show that it's 2 o'clock. We'll get started again. For those of you just logging in case some coworkers cannot, if they're maybe getting a message saying that it's an invalid link, we're having some national GoToWebinar issues. Some of the other offices were having problems yesterday that were giving webinars. So just know and just tell your coworkers that for those that can't get on, the slides and the recording are going to be sent out to everybody. So hopefully they won't miss anything, and I'll try to do it as soon as possible. This is the 2 p.m. National Weather Service winter weather briefing. I am Paul Ura. I'm the warning coordination meteorologist. Some of the important updates, the snow totals were lowered just a bit. I would say not significant enough to change our products or anything, but just some of the trends that some of the models were showing that we did lower it just a bit, and you'll see that. The watches and the warnings and advisories continue. And then we are already seeing some radar echoes down to the south. So the freezing drizzle issue could kind of creep up with our precipitation during this event. And so just kind of know that if we do get a lot of hours of just some light freezing drizzle, that can obviously increase some ice totals as well. We are going to finish up tomorrow probably by doing a 2 p.m. briefing on Tuesday. The main points, winter storm warning, of course, is still in effect. That has not changed. It's all the way through Tuesday afternoon. The winter weather advisory is also in effect also through Tuesday afternoon. I'll review those. The timing of the precipitation is still going to be starting mainly tonight, this evening and tonight, and early through Tuesday morning. I would say the time where we have the highest chances of precipitation are actually in that midnight to 6 a.m. time frame. We're going to get some precipitation outside of that range, but if you kind of think about where the heaviest precipitation or when we think most of the precipitation will occur, is primarily in that 6-hour window. Snow and sleet totals came down just a tad, basically a ½ inch to about 1.5 inches of snow and sleet possible. The highest totals likely kind of central and eastern areas. The ice accumulations up to about 0.05 of an inch, possibly up to about 1/10 of an inch down to our southeast. And again, freezing drizzle could add to those totals. And of course, as we know, especially in the warning areas, the travel will be difficult and hazardous and dangerous at times. So obviously be cautious of that. The cold weather advisory continues, especially for our cold temperatures, going all the way through Wednesday morning. And speaking of Wednesday morning, we will have to continually, and we are getting a lot of questions about the possible refreeze of moisture, and because that is going to be the coldest morning, is there still going to be ice on the roads, etc. We'll revisit that. Current conditions, air temperatures across the region. Some areas are actually still below freezing. Just checked even the 2 p.m. temperatures. These are the 1 p.m. ones. And portions around Austin are actually still below freezing. Portions of the hill country is still below freezing. Everybody else is starting to creep up into at least the mid-30s. We did have to lower our high temperatures today because the clouds came in much sooner than anticipated. We were supposed to be under sunny skies this morning, and basically we all woke up to already clouds. The wind chills out there at 1 o'clock were into the mid-20s across areas that were reporting wind chills. So the current radar actually has been showing this this area of kind of light radar echoes down to the southeast coming in from the south. And so what that is basically light precipitation that is starting to fall. And then that is a lot of that is going to be evaporating. And so none of it is really hitting the ground much right now, but it is showing up already on radar. So that's what we think is going to be expanding northward throughout the afternoon into the evening hours, and eventually that kind of lowest level of the atmosphere will moisten up, and then all of a sudden some of that precipitation will probably start making it down to the ground. To the right, you can kind of see the cloud cover that is kind of hit across a big chunk of Texas as it came in from the south. Here is a review of our winter weather advisory. You can kind of see the hill country, the southern Edwards Plateau, all the way down to the Rio Grande Plains, with that area again from 6 p.m. today all the way through 6 p.m. tomorrow. Minor travel issues, we think, light snow possible, and even some minor ice accumulations. The winter storm warning in effect from 6 p.m. tonight and through 6 p.m. tomorrow. Again, expecting hazardous and dangerous travel conditions in this warning area. Primarily, the warning has been issued for accumulating snow, sleet, and then also that potential for freezing rain and drizzle accumulating to, I would say, very hazardous travel sort of levels. Areas east could actually see the highest snow totals, and areas to the south and southeast could actually see the highest ice totals. It is very hard, especially until some of these precipitation bands start to show up, to know exactly where some of the heaviest totals may be. Like I said, this is very, very light precipitation. So it's very hard to key in on what area may actually get the most during these sort of events. So just keep that in mind. So here's the most likely ice accumulation forecast. This is what we're forecasting. You can kind of see areas down, about halfway down our south central Texas area here. So the southern half is where we're expecting the accumulated rain, the accumulated ice to hit. Again, 0.05 of an inch across the central and southern areas. Isolated totals, maybe up to 1/10 of an inch. The freezing drizzle, the models, it's very hard for the models to pick up freezing drizzle. And so we could have hours and hours of light precipitation where most of the models are saying that it's basically dry outside. So that's happened in several different events here over the past 10 years. And so we kind of understand that that freezing drizzle, hours of that, could really add to some bad travel across the area. The most likely snow forecast, again, these numbers have kind of come down just a bit, but we're still forecasting primarily 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches of snow across areas of the I-35 corridor going eastward along Interstate 10, 290, areas east of our area. The highest totals should be around there and east. Elsewhere, where you see kind of the less than 1 inch forecasted, a dusting up to 1/2 inch. And so that's why we're technically forecasting snow across much of our area. It's just that the warning area that I said where we have the winter storm warning, they should see primarily the highest totals. When we talk about areas out to the east, these are some probabilities using our high resolution short-term models that have come in over the last day. These are chances of snow getting more than 2 inches. So you can kind of see where we highlighted areas maybe along 10 and along 290 going out there from Fayette County eastward toward Houston. Technically, that's where the probabilities are highest of getting more than 2 inches of snow. Here's a snapshot of our cold weather advisory that we have, especially for our entire region. Again, risk for hypothermia, utilize that space heater safety sort of graphic that we've been kind of sharing as well. That's going to be in effect until noon on Wednesday. Quick review of some of the temperatures expecting for tomorrow. We're going to be waking up to a hard freeze across much of the area. The precipitation should be kind of getting out of the area by mid-morning and especially by late morning. So there still may be some travel issues lingering throughout the entire day on Tuesday. It honestly depends on how much precipitation actually falls. And unfortunately, we won't know that until it is actually fallen. The high temperatures tomorrow on Tuesday, we are expecting most areas to get above freezing. So that is good. That could allow for some melting, whatever precipitation does make it to the ground overnight and stick. Hopefully some of that will start on its process of melting and getting off the roads. By Wednesday morning, again, coldest temperatures, teens. The area there in the far east where we're, low teens out there by Fayette County, Gonzales, DeWitt, some of that is the models are latching on to the potential of snow on the ground. And if snow is on the ground, especially out in that region, we could actually have some of the coldest temperatures east, which is pretty rare this time of year, but that's the potential. And then high temperatures on Wednesday getting up into the 40s and possibly even into the 50s in some region. Like I had mentioned earlier, if there is a lot of precipitation that falls and it makes it all the way and it's on the ground and it's on the roads all day on Tuesday, there is a potential that some of that could refreeze Tuesday night and then still be kind of having some sort of travel issues by Wednesday morning. Way too early to tell exactly where that would be. Where you are, you'll be the best judge of that because it depends on how much precipitation is on the ground tomorrow. And we'll have to just kind of play that hour by hour to see what kind of moisture is still left on the road by Wednesday morning. Here's a lowest wind chill graph. This has not changed much over the last couple of days. Still expecting some single digits out in the hill country over the next couple of days, especially as we get through tomorrow into early Wednesday. So just recapping, again, the winter storm warning and the winter weather advisory continues. It will officially start at 6 p.m. and those will both go until 6 p.m. on Tuesday. The timing, again, mainly tonight, all the way into the early morning hours tomorrow, with a highlight of that time right past midnight all the way through the pre-dawn tomorrow morning. The snow and sleet totals, you can see those. The ice accumulation, again, this isn't going to be one of our historic sort of ice events, okay? So we're not at that sort of level at all. This is one that's going to be primarily affecting travel, and we think that is primarily going to be it. The cold weather advisory, again, extending all the way through Wednesday a.m. So the next briefing, again, will be tomorrow at 2 p.m. We'll probably, hopefully by then, be able to kind of show how much has fallen or what has not fallen, hopefully. But we'll then talk about the issues about the temperatures and possibly any sort of refreeze that happens on Wednesday. So I can talk about any questions that anybody has. If you see the questions feature there, put the questions in. One question so far asking about storm reports and spotter. Yes, if you're a trained weather spotter, then you can send them to our typical spotter phone number, or 1-800-292-5508. You can also send them to that email that you actually see on the screen right now, the sr-ewx.alert@noaa.gov. You can send the reports with pictures, hopefully, there. You can also share on social media, and we should be able to get those as well. Let me go through some of these other questions real quick. Again, do you anticipate the travel impact on Wednesday AM? Yeah, kind of like I talked about. Depends on how much precipitation falls where you are. If you're only going to get a small amount of precipitation tomorrow, then there likely may be not any major concerns for Wednesday. If you're in an area of South Central Texas that does get some snow that's covering the ground and that snow does not go away tomorrow afternoon, does not melt off, then yes, as we drop down into a very hard freeze on Wednesday morning, then there could be some lingering road effects. We'll know a lot more tomorrow after the precipitation has ended to see how much has happened. In most cases, well-traveled roads with even just a little bit of precipitation should start to clear rather rapidly as cars and travel continue. It's the less traveled roads that you may have longer residual impacts from precipitation like that. Will the sun come out on Tuesday? That's a very, very good question. So as I'm looking through that, I'm going to go through and kind of see if I can get some of the forecast information and kind of see. Our forecast was just finalizing as we were kind of going on air. So let me kind of go in here real quick and see what we did with the actual cloud forecast. It'll just take me a second to kind of see what we're dealing with cloud cover. Stand by. Okay, as we get into Tuesday. Looks like we're going to be cloudy throughout the morning as the precipitation is ending, and then it does look like we should be getting clearing skies by mid to late afternoon. So that hopefully will bump up those temperatures. And so in case, right, there is all that precipitation that has made it to the ground, then hopefully that will help speed up the process of getting rid of it. What are the chances of increased snow amounts due to the increased clouds all day? Well, it doesn't necessarily always equate if we have clouds that we're going to get snow. It doesn't usually work that way. The overall amounts that the models have been spitting out over the last day or so has not drastically increased. Again, there's always plausible scenarios that can give us, isolated higher totals here and there, just like thunderstorms and how that kind of works. So we're fairly confident that this is going to be a lighter precipitation event overall. Travel impact for Kirk County looks like an improvement from yesterday. We're still technically under a winter weather advisory out there in Kirk County. I would say, from my perspective, it's very similar to what we briefed on yesterday out in Kirk County, even though maybe some of the overall snow totals came down by maybe a ½ inch. Differing travel impacts from a ½ inch of snow versus a inch of snow, I think, are minimal, to be honest, because it's South Central Texas and we just don't get a lot of snow. So yeah, I still think there's possible travel impacts as far west as Kirk County, and that's why the advisory is still in effect out there. As far as there's someone that wants me to review the spotter information. So the email that you see there on the screen, the sr-edwx.alert@noaa.gov, that is a good email to send your spotter reports to. That would be a good one to have. Someone is asking about that new email that you kind of see on the screen, that nws.sanantonio@noaa.gov. Yeah, we're going to be probably using both for a little bit, but overall, I think I'm going to choose a date here, probably in the beginning of February, and kind of switch over to that new email that you see on there. I'm going to send an email out to everybody kind of announcing that. So no worries as of right now. Still send your reports to the alert email account that you see on the screen. And yes, EWX spotter is still monitored on X. So if you have those spotter reports, like we kind of talk about in our storm training classes, if you want to send a picture or send a report in, yes, you can put the hashtag EWX spotter, and we will be able to kind of filter those out if you are sending them through X. Any other questions before we wrap up? Again, we're kind of around the cusp of everything finally starting to start. So we'll kind of see over the next 12 to 24 hours how it all evolves out. But hopefully when we have this webinar tomorrow, we're not talking about any sort of significant sort of impacts. But as you know, it's South Central Texas, and Mother Nature sometimes can surprise us. So hopefully everybody is prepared, and we shall see and talk to everybody tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I'll get these slides and recording out as soon as I can. Thank you for joining.